A climber vanished in Switzerland 3 years later, found laughing under the ice-sheared edge. On January the 17th, 2023, 28-year-old Marcus Holden set out for a solo winter climb in the Swiss Alps near Zermatt. He told his girlfriend he would be back at their rental chalet by nightfall. When darkness came and his headlamp was not visible on the mountain face, she called emergency services. Search teams found only a single glove and disturbed snow near the Gornergrat Ridge. The search was called off after 9 days. Marcus Holden was presumed dead, another victim of the unforgiving Alpine winter. 3 years and 4 months later, on May the 29th, 2026, 2 German hikers reported a strange sound coming from beneath an ice shelf on the eastern face of the Gornergrat. Rescue personnel discovered Marcus Holden in a narrow crevasse, severely malnourished, with a growth of matted hair and beard. He was laughing. According to the medical report, he kept repeating the same phrase, "The ice keeps what it takes, but I didn't belong to it." But what really happened to Marcus during those 3 years, you will find out in this video. Marcus Holden worked as a software engineer for a tech company in Munich, Germany. He had taken a 2-week vacation to Switzerland specifically to attempt several winter climbs in the Zermatt region. According to his rental agreement, he had booked the chalet for 12 days. On January the 17th, 2023, at 5:14 a.m., security cameras at the Zermatt cable car station captured Marcus purchasing a one-way ticket to Gornergrat. The attendant later confirmed Marcus was wearing a red North Face jacket, black climbing pants, and carrying a grey and black backpack with climbing equipment. Marcus sent a text message to his girlfriend Lisa Brenner saying the conditions were perfect, that he was starting from the Gornergrat Ridge, and that he would be back by 7 p.m. This was the last confirmed communication from Marcus. The cable car operator recalled that Marcus appeared confident and prepared, saying he had proper equipment and seemed to know what he was doing. Weather records confirm that January 17th began with clear skies, light winds, and temperatures around -12 degrees Celsius at altitude. At 6:32 a.m., Marcus was captured on the security camera at the Gornergrat viewing platform. He was seen checking his equipment and taking several photographs of the route ahead. At 7:04 a.m., a tourist's photo inadvertently captured Marcus in the background, beginning his descent toward the eastern face. This was the last verified sighting of Marcus Holden before his disappearance. Lisa Brenner began calling Marcus at 8:17 p.m. when he failed to return. According to her statement, she called his phone 17 times between 8:17 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. At 9:42 p.m., she contacted the Swiss Alpine rescue service. She said she knew something was wrong. Marcus was methodical. If he said 7 p.m., he meant 7 p.m. The rescue service initiated standard protocols for a missing climber, but nightfall and deteriorating weather conditions prevented an immediate search operation. At 5:30 a.m. on January 18th, a 4-person search team departed from Zermatt with mountain guide Anton Furrer leading the operation. Helicopter support was unavailable due to high winds that had developed overnight. The team followed Marcus's intended route based on information provided by Lisa. At 10:17 a.m., the search team located a single black Gore-Tex glove matching the description of Marcus's equipment. The glove was found approximately 400 meters below the ridge, near a section known locally as the ice-sheared edge. Furrer noted in his report that they found signs of disturbed snow and ice, possibly from a fall or avalanche. The pattern was consistent with a climber losing footing and sliding. The search dogs picked up a scent trail leading to the edge of a deep crevasse, but lost it at that point. The search team expanded their efforts, using probes to check snow depths and crevasses in the area. A small amount of blood was found on a rock edge, later confirmed through DNA analysis to be Marcus's. Weather conditions deteriorated rapidly at 2:40 p.m., forcing the team to return to Zermatt. Over the next 8 days, search efforts continued whenever weather permitted. 3 helicopter sweeps using thermal imaging equipment revealed no heat signatures. 4 different ground teams with search dogs covered a 5-kilometer radius from the point of disappearance. On January the 26th, 2023, the official search was suspended. The report cited exhaustion of all viable search areas and a high probability that the subject has perished due to exposure or injuries sustained in a fall. Lisa Brenner refused to accept this conclusion. She remained in Zermatt for another month, organizing private searches and posting flyers throughout the region. She created a website, findmarcusholden.com, which attracted attention from climbing communities across Europe. Several experienced climbers volunteered their time to search areas that the official teams may have overlooked. Despite these efforts, no further evidence of Marcus's whereabouts was discovered. By March 2023, even Lisa had begun to accept that Marcus had likely died on the mountain. She returned to Munich, but maintained the website and continued to coordinate with local authorities for any updates. On the one-year anniversary of his disappearance, Lisa organized a memorial service in Zermatt. According to local newspapers, over 50 climbers and friends attended. The case was officially classified as presumed death in mountains, body not recovered. Then came May 29, 2026. German tourists Dieter and Elsa Krause were hiking along a maintained trail below the eastern face of the Gornergrat when they heard strange laughter coming from beneath an ice formation. Dieter Krause said that at first they thought it was water running, or maybe the ice cracking, but it had a rhythm to it and it sounded human. The couple reported the sound to a park ranger, who contacted Alpine Rescue. Rescue team leader Matthias Becker initially suspected the report was either a misidentification of natural sounds or possibly the wind creating unusual acoustics through the ice formations. Nevertheless, protocol required investigation of all reported incidents. At 4:15 in the afternoon, Becker and 2 team members arrived at the location described by the Krauses. The report notes that the team heard what could be described as human vocalization, coming from a narrow crevasse partially covered by an ice shelf. The rescue team used thermal imaging equipment that detected a heat signature approximately 7 meters down in the crevasse. Using standard ice rescue protocols, the team widened the opening and lowered rescue specialist Johanna Meyer into the crevasse. What she found defied explanation. Meyer reported that there was a man in a small ice cave. He was sitting with his back against the ice wall. He had very long hair and beard, both matted with ice. He was extremely thin, but conscious. He was laughing quietly and continuously. When she spoke to him, he looked at her and said, "The ice keeps what it takes, but I didn't belong to it." He repeated this several times. The rescue team extracted the man from the crevasse using a specialized harness system. His body temperature was dangerously low at 32.1 degrees Celsius. He was wrapped in thermal blankets and evacuated by helicopter to Zermatt Medical Center. Upon arrival, medical staff confirmed through identification documents found in the remnants of his backpack that the man was Marcus Holden, missing for 3 years, 4 months, and 12 days. Dr. Helena Weber, the emergency physician who first treated Marcus, documented his condition in detail. The patient presented with severe malnutrition. Body weight approximately 49 kilograms, representing significant weight loss from his documented pre-incident weight of 79 kilograms. Multiple pressure sores on his back and buttocks. Frostbite damage to his extremities, though surprisingly limited given the duration of exposure. Severely chapped lips and dehydration. Dental issues including 3 broken teeth. The patient was hypothermic but responsive. Most surprising to the medical team was that Marcus was conscious and able to speak, though his speech patterns were described as repetitive and dissociative. He continued to repeat the same phrase about the ice, occasionally interspersed with laughter. When asked direct questions, he would sometimes respond coherently before returning to his repetitive statement. Lisa Brenner was notified immediately. She arrived in Zermatt the following morning. According to hospital staff, her reunion with Marcus was brief and troubling. He looked at her without recognition at first, a nurse noted in the case file. Then he became agitated, asking if he had sent her. When she tried to touch his hand, he pulled away violently. As Marcus's physical condition stabilized, psychologist Dr. Thomas Reiter was assigned to his case. Initial evaluation classified Marcus's mental state as severely dissociative with possible traumatic psychosis. He was transferred to a specialized psychiatric facility in Geneva for further treatment. It was there that Marcus began to tell his story, though medical records indicate that his account changed frequently and contained significant inconsistencies. According to the initial medical report, Marcus claimed he had fallen into the crevasse during his climb and had been trapped there for the entire 3-year period. He described surviving by eating ice and occasionally catching small animals that fell into the crevasse. He claimed the ice formation had created a natural shelter that protected him from the worst of the elements. Emphasis in the report noted the claim of 3 years in isolation. Marcus said during his third interview that he had made a snow cave and that he remembered his training. He said you can survive if you know how. When asked how he maintained body heat, he answered that the ice speaks to you if you listen long enough and that it tells you how to stay warm. Medical staff found that explanation inconsistent with known survival science. Detective Sophia Muller of the Swiss Federal Police was assigned to investigate the case. Her initial assessment treated Marcus's account with professional skepticism. In her preliminary report, she wrote that the subject's explanation for his survival is not consistent with medical evidence. The degree of muscle atrophy suggests prolonged immobility, yet not consistent with the full 3-year period. The broken teeth appear to have been treated in some rudimentary fashion. Hair growth and nail conditions suggest periods of better nutrition alternating with severe deprivation. The report emphasized the word inconsistent. Forensic analysis of Marcus's clothing revealed additional inconsistencies. Remnants of his climbing gear showed wear patterns inconsistent with continuous exposure to ice. Fibers embedded in the fabric did not match the mountain environment. Most significantly, a detailed medical examination revealed evidence of healing and re-healing in several bone fractures, suggesting multiple injuries over time rather than a single fall. Dr. Weber offered a more direct evaluation. He concluded that it is medically impossible for a human to survive for 3 years in a glacial crevasse without external support. The subject's physical condition, while severely compromised, is not consistent with continuous exposure and starvation for that duration. The phrase medically impossible appears in his notes. As Marcus's physical condition improved, his mental state remained highly unstable. He alternated between periods of apparent lucidity and episodes of extreme agitation. During one episode, a nurse reported that Marcus became hysterical when the room lights were turned off, screaming about the dark man coming back. When questioned about this during a calmer period, Marcus denied any knowledge of making such statements. Detective Muller began to consider the possibility that Marcus's survival might involve criminal elements. She documented that the subject may be a victim of abduction and captivity rather than a survival case. Alternatively, she noted that the subject may be concealing information about his activities during the missing period. The investigation then shifted to examine Marcus's movements prior to his disappearance. Financial records showed no unusual activity. His passport had not been used to cross any international borders. His employment confirmed he had been on approved vacation leave. No evidence suggested Marcus had planned to disappear voluntarily. 6 weeks into the investigation, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A routine toxicology screening of Marcus's hair samples revealed trace amounts of ketamine and an unidentified sedative compound. The pattern of drug deposits in the hair shaft suggested periodic administration over a long time frame rather than recreational use. Dr. Reiter modified his therapeutic approach based on this new information, employing techniques specifically designed for victims of captivity and trauma. During one session, when shown photographs of the Gornergrat area, Marcus exhibited a severe panic response when a particular image of a remote cabin appeared in the sequence. That structure was not part of his planned route. The discovery of this reaction became a significant lead. The cabin in question was identified as an old shepherd's hut on the eastern slope, approximately 3 kilometers from where Marcus was found. Records indicated it was owned by the Zermatt municipality, but it had not been in official use for over a decade. Detective Mueller assembled a team to investigate the location. The cabin appeared abandoned on initial inspection. A thick layer of dust covered most surfaces, and there were no immediate signs of recent occupation. However, further examination revealed inconsistencies. The dust pattern was disturbed in specific areas. A trapdoor in the floor, partially concealed by a worn rug, led to a cellar area not documented in the building plans. The police report states that the cellar contained evidence of long-term habitation: a sleeping pallet with restraint attachments, portable heating equipment, food storage containers, and medical supplies, including injectable sedatives matching the compounds found in the subject's system. The walls were lined with sound-dampening material. Most disturbing was the discovery of a journal hidden within the wall insulation. The journal contained detailed entries spanning approximately 2.5 years, written in precise, methodical German. The author described a project called ice integration, involving returning humans to a primal connection with glacial consciousness. The entries detailed procedures performed on a subject referred to only as Specimen M. One entry recorded day 347. Specimen M continued to resist the integration, increasing cold exposure duration to 6 hours. Preparation for the final phase required complete psychological breakdown. When he laughs with the ice, I will know he is ready. Another entry dated approximately 6 months later, day 523, recorded a breakthrough. Specimen M laughed for 17 minutes while in contact with the primary ice sample. The integration is beginning. Reduced sedation by 15%. Forensic analysis of the journal revealed fingerprints that did not match any known criminal database. However, examination of the writing style and specific terminology suggested the author had scientific training, possibly in glaciology or related fields. During subsequent therapeutic sessions, Marcus began to reveal fragments of memory that aligned with the evidence found in the cabin. Marcus said he would take me to the ice. He said I needed to become part of it. He said only some people were chosen to understand. When asked who he was, Marcus became agitated and repeatedly returned to his phrase about the icy. In a significant breakthrough, Marcus provided a partial physical description. He wore glasses with blue frames. He spoke German with an Austrian accent. He called himself the Keeper, but Marcus heard someone call him Professor once. This description led investigators to review employment records for research institutions working in Alpine glaciology. Among the names that emerged was Dr. Klaus Weber, a former glaciologist who had worked for the Swiss Federal Institute for Snow and Avalanche Research until 2018. According to institutional records, Dr. Weber had been dismissed following concerns about his increasingly unorthodox research proposals involving human psychological response to prolonged ice exposure. University colleagues described Weber as brilliant but increasingly erratic in his final years at the institute. He became obsessed with the idea that certain humans could develop a symbiotic relationship with glacial ice, and he believed the ice had some form of consciousness that could be accessed through specific psychological states. After his dismissal, Weber largely disappeared from academic circles. His last known residence was in Innsbruck, Austria, but he had not been documented there for several years. Financial records showed he maintained a small but steady income from a private research grant provided by an obscure foundation called Eisgeist Institute, which itself had no verifiable physical presence. As the investigation continued, Marcus's mental health showed marginal improvement. During a carefully structured therapy session, Dr. Reiter was able to help Marcus reconstruct the events of January 17th, 2023. Marcus said he was climbing near the ridge. He heard someone call for help. He thought another climber was in trouble. He followed the voice to an area away from his planned route. There was a man there saying his partner had fallen. When Marcus approached to help, he felt a sharp pain in his neck. Then nothing until he woke up in the dark. Marcus described being kept in the cellar for what he believed was many months, though his sense of time was deliberately distorted by his captor. He said the captor would keep him in the dark for long periods, then expose him to bright light. Sometimes the captor would play recordings of ice cracking at high volume. Marcus said the man told him he was preparing him for the ice. According to Marcus's fragmented account, the man he knew only as the Keeper would periodically take him to various locations on the glacier for what the man called integration sessions. These involved being partially buried in snow or ice for increasing durations while the man recorded observations and took samples. Marcus said the man claimed only certain people could hear the ice speaking. The man was testing Marcus to see if he was one of them. When Marcus started laughing during the cold, the captor became very excited. He said it was the first sign that the ice was accepting Marcus. The most disturbing aspect of Marcus's captivity involved the final phase the captor called complete integration. Marcus was taken to a remote crevasse and lowered inside. According to his account, he was secured in position with climbing equipment and left there for increasingly long periods. The captor would return periodically to check his condition, provide minimal sustenance, and document his responses. He told Marcus the ice would eventually speak through him, that Marcus would become a vessel. When Marcus started laughing and could not stop, the captor said Marcus was almost ready. The investigation took an unexpected turn on June 30th, 2026, when hikers reported an abandoned vehicle near a rarely used mountain road approximately 7 kilometers from the shepherd's cabin. The vehicle, a 2016 Volvo station wagon with Austrian plates, was registered to Klaus Weber. Inside, investigators found camping equipment, scientific instruments related to ice core sampling, and a laptop computer. Forensic analysis of the laptop revealed extensive files documenting what Weber called the Ice Integration Project. The files included video recordings of Marcus and, most disturbingly, brief footage of 2 other individuals undergoing similar procedures. The other subjects were not identified, but timestamps indicated the recordings predated Marcus's abduction by several years. A draft research paper found on the laptop outlined Weber's theories about human-ice symbiosis, claiming that certain neurological profiles allow for communication with the glacial consciousness, and that proper conditioning can activate dormant human abilities to perceive ice as a sentient entity. Despite an intensive international search effort, Klaus Weber himself remained at large. Border control alerts were issued throughout the Schengen area, and Interpol circulated his information to member countries. Investigators theorized that Weber had abandoned his vehicle and equipment after learning of Marcus's rescue and the subsequent investigation. On July 17, 2026, a significant development occurred when Marcus received a handwritten note at the psychiatric facility where he was being treated. The note had been delivered with routine mail but had no postmark or return address. Security footage showed no unauthorized individuals entering the mailroom. The note contained only 5 words. The sentence read, "The ice still waits for you." Marcus's reaction to the note was severe. He attempted to barricade himself in his room and refused food for 3 days. When he was finally coaxed out by Dr. Reiter, Marcus revealed additional details about his captivity that he had previously withheld. Marcus told Dr. Reiter that his captor had said there were others before him. He said they had failed the integration and had been returned to the IC. He showed photographs of 2 men and a woman, all inside the ice, their eyes open. This information prompted investigators to review missing persons cases in the Alpine region over the previous decade. 3 cases were identified as having significant similarities to Marcus's disappearance. Experienced climbers who vanished in good weather conditions with minimal trace evidence. None of these individuals had been found. Based on information provided by Marcus and evidence from Weber's laptop, search teams returned to the Gornergrat area, focusing on specific glacial regions identified in Weber's research. Ground-penetrating radar was used to examine areas of the glacier where human remains might be concealed. On August 3, 2026, the search team located human remains embedded approximately 3 meters deep in the ice at a location marked in Weber's files as Integration Site C. The body was later identified as Thomas Keller, a 31-year-old German climber who had disappeared in 2019. Cause of death was determined to be hypothermia, but the body's position suggested the victim had been placed deliberately rather than having fallen accidentally. 2 weeks later, a second body was recovered from a different section of the glacier. This victim was identified as Andrea Berger, a 27-year-old Austrian climber who had been reported missing in 2021. Like Keller, her body had been deliberately positioned within the ice. Forensic examination revealed evidence of prolonged restraint prior to death. As the investigation expanded, psychological profilers developed a clearer picture of Klaus Weber and his activities. The psychological profile said he developed a delusional belief system centered around glacial sentience. He progressed from theoretical research to human experimentation, selecting victims who fit his criteria for potential integration. The ritualistic aspects of his methodology suggest he viewed himself as a facilitator or priest-like figure in what he perceived as a communion between humans and ice. On September 12, 2026, an Alpine guide reported finding an abandoned campsite in a remote area near the Italian border. Swiss and Italian authorities coordinated a search operation and located Klaus Weber in a small cave approximately 2 kilometers from the campsite. According to the arrest report, Weber offered no resistance and appeared to be in a severely malnourished state. When approached by officers, he reportedly said only that the IC had rejected him. Weber was taken into custody and transported to a secure medical facility for evaluation. Initial psychiatric assessment classified him as suffering from severe delusional disorder with obsessive features. He refused to answer most questions during interrogation, responding only to inquiries about his research, which he insisted was groundbreaking and misunderstood. When shown photographs of his victims, including Marcus, Weber referred to them as candidates and vessels. He expressed disappointment that Marcus had been removed before completion of the final integration phase. When asked directly about the deaths of Keller and Berger, Weber stated they had failed to establish connection with the ice consciousness and had been returned to the source as respectful offerings. As the criminal case against Weber proceeded, Marcus continued his long and difficult recovery. Physical therapy addressed the muscle atrophy and joint damage from his prolonged captivity. Nutritional rehabilitation gradually restored his body weight. The psychological trauma, however, proved more resistant to treatment. Dr. Reiter's case notes documented Marcus's ongoing struggles. The patient continues to exhibit trauma responses to cold environments, darkness, and certain sounds associated with ice movement. Sleep disturbances persist, with nightmares reported 4 to 5 nights weekly. The patient describes a persistent auditory hallucination of ice laughing when anxious. 6 months after his rescue, Marcus was deemed physically stable enough to return to Munich with Lisa. Their relationship, however, had been fundamentally altered by the experience. Lisa reported that Marcus would sometimes stare at her and ask if the keeper had sent her. He insisted on keeping their apartment at temperatures above 25 degrees Celsius at all times. Most troubling, he would sometimes sit motionless for hours, occasionally laughing quietly without apparent cause. Klaus Weber was eventually declared mentally unfit to stand trial. He was committed to a high-security psychiatric facility in Geneva, where he continued to insist on the validity of his research. He maintained extensive journals that psychiatrists described as elaborate delusional constructs around glacial sentience. When informed that Marcus had survived and been rescued, Weber expressed satisfaction, claiming that Marcus was the first successful Phase 1 integration and would always carry the ice consciousness within him. The police investigation officially concluded with Weber's commitment and the recovery of the 2 additional victims. Reports indicated that Weber had likely operated alone, driven by his delusional belief system, rather than any conventional criminal motivation. His former academic colleagues expressed shock and dismay at the evolution of his once promising scientific career into deadly obsession. For Marcus Holden, the ordeal left permanent marks, both physical and psychological. Follow-up medical examinations 1 year after his rescue documented ongoing issues with temperature regulation, intermittent tremors in his extremities, and dental problems requiring multiple surgeries. Psychological assessment noted persistent post-traumatic stress disorder, specific phobias related to darkness and cold, and what Dr. Reiter termed integration of delusional elements into self-concept. Perhaps most concerning was Marcus's ambivalent relationship with his own survival. During his final documented therapy session, Marcus told his treatment team that sometimes he still hears it, the ice laughing. He said that sometimes he thought the scientist had been right, that part of him remained underneath the surface, and that sometimes he thought he should go back. According to police records, Marcus has twice been found attempting to return to the Gornergrat area, despite court orders prohibiting him from entering the region. On the second occasion, he was discovered less than 1 kilometer from the shepherd's cabin, where he had been held, carrying climbing equipment and a journal containing entries that, according to the responding officer, disturbingly echoed the writing style and terminology of Klaus Weber. Marcus currently lives in a supervised residential facility in southern Germany, where his condition is described as stable, but with persistent delusional components. He remains under regular psychiatric care and is not permitted to travel without supervision. Lisa Brenner ended their relationship after Marcus's second attempt to return to Switzerland. The Swiss Federal Police maintain an open file on the case because they have been unable to determine whether Klaus Weber had accomplices or if additional victims might be located within the glacial regions he frequented. Climate scientists have noted that ongoing glacial retreat may eventually reveal further evidence as previously concealed areas of ice become exposed. Klaus Weber remains institutionalized, continuing to produce voluminous writings about the awakening ice consciousness and what he terms the coming glacial revelation. He has shown no remorse for his actions and maintains that his work was necessary preparation for human evolution in the new ice age. The psychiatric evaluation concludes with this observation. The subject has created an elaborate delusional framework that allows him to recontextualize his crimes as scientific breakthrough. His academic background provided him with the vocabulary and methodology to systematize his delusions into a pseudo-scientific framework that, to him, justifies the torture and murder of multiple victims. For Marcus Holden, the search for normalcy continues. His medical file notes that he still repeats his mantra, "The ice keeps what it takes, but I didn't belong to it," during periods of stress or when the temperature drops suddenly. He refuses to discuss what this phrase means. When directly questioned about his laughter in the crevasse, Marcus becomes non-responsive. The case file ends with a note from his current psychiatrist. The patient continues to exhibit behavioral patterns consistent with institutional captivity. He remains hypervigilant in new environments, hoards food items, and displays submission responses to authority figures. When asked about his future goals, he was unable to formulate a response beyond ensuring he stays warm. The prognosis for full psychological recovery remains guarded.